In this video, we will discuss about the crosstalk between ER stress and the redox signaling pathway. Redox signaling pathway is related to balancing the ROS generation or controlling the ROS or preventing the ROS generation within the cells. So one of the reasons this ER stress might occur is because of the disruption in the functioning of this PDI. The PDI actually helps in acquiring native disulfide bond or the newly translating or translated protein within the endoplasmic reticulum. If PDI does not perform its function properly, then it will triggers the ROS generation, and this ROS generation, what it will do is it will ROS generation will trigger the ER stress, and this ER stress will finally trigger the unfolded protein response. And because this PDI now is not been able to do its function properly, the proteins such as this BIP, GRP78 that is usually bind to this IRE1, PERK, and ATF6, and thus preventing them, thus preventing them from phosphorylation. So when in the case of unfolded protein response, what happens is that these proteins were not been able to acquire the native structure, thus not been able to perform its function properly. This leads to the phosphorylation of all of this phosphorylation of this pathway, that is the phosphorylation of IRE1 pathway, PERK pathway, that will trigger the ER stress response. And simultaneously, what can happen is that if the ROS content is not high, it will also trigger this ER stress will or UPR will also trigger antioxidant response such as NRF2 generation that will neutralize this ROS. We have discussed this ROS and NRF roles or relationship in our previous videos. You can go and check out those videos. So, however, in case if ROS generation is very high, what it will trigger the cascade effect in a way that ROS generation will further increase, such as this ROS will leads to increase in the formation of NOx4 that will trigger more dysfunctioning of this PDI, and that will trigger this ERO1 formation and NOx formation that finally leads to increase in the amount of ROS. Another thing that might happen in terms of calcium is that this ER stress will disrupt the calcium homeostasis that is maintained by the endoplasmic reticulum, and simultaneously it will uh, trigger a transfer of this calcium to the mitochondria through this IP3R channel that will lead to overloading of calcium within the mitochondria, and this overloading will trigger the ROS formation within the mitochondria, and simultaneously it will also uh, trigger some of the pro-apoptotic factor that might cause apoptosis or programmed cell death. So this is how this ER stress within the ER can do a crosstalk with mitochondria and even make the mitochondria dysfunctional in case of high oxidative stress. So there are different conditions that might occur based on the level of and oxidative stress. If the oxidative stress is within threshold limit, then the unfolded protein response and other responses by the cells might be able to reestablish its normal position by introducing several strategies, such as one of the strategies is to increase in the amount of antioxidants such as NRF2 that will neutralize this ROS. And if the oxidative stress and ER stress are crossed beyond a limit, then it will trigger the cell death, as the cell will consider now the condition as irreversible, and for the benefit of the host, it will trigger those cells towards apoptosis or programmed cell death. And this is represented by these arrows, that when the ER stress is within limit, it might cause it might lead to cell survival through generation of several signals such as unfolded protein response. and increase in the amount of antioxidant. But if the ER stress and oxidative stress cross beyond the limit, then it might lead to cell apoptosis, and that will also this apoptosis signal will also aggravated by increase in the also aggravated by the pro-apoptotic factor that is released by mitochondria. So I hope you have understood the crosstalk between some basic idea of the crosstalk between ER stress and redox signaling pathway. And if you need to understand this topic in detail, you can go through the reference that has been provided in the description. That's all for this video. Thank you for your time.